go. You ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Just Be You. I am here today with a really special episode with a fellow podcaster. I'm so excited. We're in the same realm of things. And it just goes to show, guys, even when things start off as a weird concept in your mind, the further you pursue things, you will find the people that are in your orbit and you will find your people. That is my theme for the week, is your people out there, and it's just a matter of time before you find them. I find this person so inspirational, just the things that she's done already. And I connected with it and I felt like, oh, this is like me in like another body in another time or like in another place of the world. And that's the beauty of everything that we do. And I'm just so excited for you guys to hear more from her. So we're going to dive right into it and we're going to say hi to my guest, Miss Lacey. How are you feeling today?
Oh, I'm feeling good. My face hurts from smiling, listening and watching you talk about that. And yes, I totally agree. Just the this crazy idea in your head, and then you find people who get it, and it's so exciting. And preaching to the choir. Absolutely.
Yeah. We just got to stay in our element. Yeah. And just keep going for it, because you just never know. Every day looks completely different.
It does, which is scary, but also good.
Yes, but it's so exciting. And it's just sometimes even just like this morning, I had like an epiphany, or just like when things connect and it's just like, oh, this is what that means. This is what it leads to. And that's what gets me so excited. And part of the reason why I'm just a little all over the place.
I'm loving your energy today. It's so infectious and I needed it today. So just thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I love it. The energy is real, guys. Yeah. There's power in energy.
Yes. And it can even go through Zoom.
Especially through Zoom. It's I heard someone say not so long ago, it's transferable. You can't destroy it, you just transfer it.
Yeah.
Which I thought is dope, but but enough about me. What is going on with you and your show, The Mid? Can you just explain that a little bit? Because once I seen it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect word to describe everything.
Yeah, so I recently started a brand called The Middle, and a main part of that is my podcast called Sharing the Middle. And where it came from is a few months ago, I started writing. And I was writing about just me and my life, just for myself. Mm-hmm. And this idea of the middle was surrounding almost all of my writing. My frustration with the middle, that I was not the best, but I wasn't the worst, that I was feeling like I was in the middle of a phase and I couldn't get out, or that I see an achievement that I want to get to and I'm just not there yet. And I just am in this middle. And the minute that I started talking about it with other people and getting it out there, everybody seemed to have this reaction of, oh my gosh, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it was so interesting to me that everybody took it in a very different direction. For me, it's not a positive thing, which it makes it sound crazy that basically I'm devoting my life to it now about talking about it. But it's really, truly my way of trying to figure out how to embrace this middles of life. And there were some people who are like, oh, I love the middle. It's about time and you have to embrace it. And it's the now. And then other people were like, I know, right? The middle sucks. The messy middle. I don't like it. And so it really just kind of started from there. Frankly, I just had to figure out a way for it to not be the middle of the TV show. And I did some Googling. And I realized if I took out all the vowels of the word middle, it made sense. Even though I'm pretty sure it's some kind of marketing programming language, I figured that they're different enough topics. Yeah. And if I keep it the middle, it's separated enough, because it's MDDL. It's a language. I didn't really look into it a lot. But yeah, and it's just really grown from there as far as being a great way for me to ground a lot of my ideas and passions, and to talk to people. Because as I was discovering that the people in my life were relating to what I was saying. I'm like, this is got to be something bigger than me. I think that this is something that other people would love to think about and talk about. And I'm still not good at it.
I think you are.
You think I put on a great show. I put on a great show, but I am getting better about it. And there are some parts of it that I love. Like in my first piece of writing about it ever, I talked about how I love the middles of food. Like give me the middle of an Oreo, or
Okay,
I
the cream is the
love,
best.
yeah, I love, I'm a middle brownie person. I know that's a controversial topic, I've learned.
I mean, it's interesting. That's a first.
It's a 50-50. I did a poll because I wanted to know that it's 50% of people liked edges and 50% of the people liked middle pieces like me.
Okay.
The middle of like a crusty piece of bread, that like soft part that's just one bite, but it's magical, And so now I'm on this kind of quest to figure out how to love the other parts of the middle that I hate in that same way. So yeah, so that's what the middle is. And then sharing the middle, specifically my podcast, is my way of being able to bring in other people's stories about the middle. And so I've been able to interview some really fascinating, cool women specifically so far about what the middle means to them. And then we usually talk about a specific middle moment as a way to kind of talk about the relationship with the middle. And it's been awesome. And it's also been great because you remember I said in the beginning, I asked my family and friends about it. Well, last night I actually did a podcast recording with my mom and my sisters to do an episode with them, to hear them talk about it. And so it's just been, I've also simultaneously been going through a lot of health issues at the same time. And it has been really the saving grace of my life right now, because it has given me all of this in a time that I desperately needed it.
No, that's totally fair. I mean, I guess when I was in my mid, I was just like, I just called it a midlife crisis. I'm like, I'm not even in my midlife, but this has got to be it, because everything was just like completely wonky and it just really didn't make any sense for like a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would try to explain it to people, they were like, maybe you just need a vacation. And I was like, no, it's bigger than that. So I just found like a lot of comfort in it in like the first, I don't know, 30 seconds that I read, and I even like listened to it. And just when you were explaining how it came about, I just was thinking, I'm like, wow, it's just amazing. Or at least I'm seeing the correlation between like writing and like podcasting, because for like conversations that I've had with other podcasters, it's kind of taken a similar approach. And I think that's kind of cool. So
yeah,
this baby was born out of like a journaling session. And I was just like, Bert, that makes no sense. But if it was in my mind, I figured it was worth at least, seeing if there was anything to it. So I'm with you on that. And
there absolutely is.
is.
Oh no, I was just gonna say there absolutely is. And I think as a society right now, and I think this really leans to you, of like, we've been so taught to do things a certain way. And a lot of what I'm learning through this process is we kind of have to unteach ourselves some things.
Oh yeah.
And that's what makes the difference, and that we need to stop worrying about, because I don't know about you, but I feel like I look around all the time and it's about either someone who's making billions of dollars, or it's a tragedy in our world. And it's really like, there's no in between. And so really kind of getting back into yourself is what's important.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you were like first exploring, like coming back to your own middle of like peace and sanity, well, did you have like a go-to tool, or was that something you just had to source out yourself?
Well, so I just quick shout out to my therapists over the years. I've had two amazing therapists that have given me tools along the way. Of just like different thought processes and honestly just another voice to challenge some of those just mean thoughts, because I've got a lot of mean thoughts in my head, and like I am the meanest person in the world only to myself. I tend to give everybody else the benefit of the doubt, and I don't give it to myself. So those kind of tools, but really writing has been so great for me. And it's me learning kind of the same thing I said earlier. I can write what I want to write. You know, I have 2 master's degrees, so I spent a lot of time in my life writing for other people, right? I wrote academic papers. And then in the world of business and work, you're writing for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the first time in really my whole life that I sat down and I was writing just for me.
Yeah.
And in that process, I had some realizations. So like I realized, you know, I'm a bigger girl. I have been my whole life. And I was like, I've never talked about that out loud with anyone, but it's not a secret. Everybody can see me. So why is that a thing? And so writing became a place that I said it out loud for the first time. And so really just writing, and starting to unlearn and start to tune out. Because I also, this is one of the phrases, again, my wonderful therapist so taught me, is that I need to stop shoulding all over myself. Because I'm constantly like, I should be able to do this. I should need to think like this. I should be this way. I should do this. And when I'm faced with like, why? Why should you? I hear you say this all the time. Why should you? And the writing has really kind of helped me look at those more of like, well, why should I do laundry a certain way? I don't need to, you know, or why should I, you know, just a whole host of things that I put the pressure on myself for frankly no reason, but are constantly messages we receive from society. And it's like, no, I need to stop shoulding. I don't need to do that. That's not a thing I need. And really starting to look at my like needs and that kind of thing. I was writing. I think writing.
No, that's totally fair. I mean, when I look at my journal, sometimes I'm like, this is just a place for me to have like word vomit and not worry about offending anyone, and it just is what it is. So, you know, you get that whole therapeutic, you know, aspect of it, like, so I resonate with that. I don't know. I'm sure everyone else is, because we are our own worst critics, because we beat ourselves up because we have these, I don't want to say delusions of grandeur, but as you said, competing with society, we kind of always feel that need, like, oh, I should be a certain place. And it doesn't look the same way for everybody. And that's fine. That's how it's meant to be.
Yeah. Yes. And I think our world now is simultaneously making it better and worse. That it's almost like you either have to be super conformed to this one thing, or you have to be completely different. And it's, again, it comes up all the time, so I apologize. It's the middle ground. It's the middle of all of those things of where you are. Yeah.
Don't apologize for the middle, because the middle shows up everywhere. And
it does. And it's so funny because now my husband likes to use it as like a dunk on me. And he'll like I'll talk about something and being frustrated. And he's like, so would you say it's the middle of this? I'm like, shut up. Yes, it is.
So in full disclosure, I did use the middle in like a post that I was writing, and I'm like, oh, like it, because it just fits so perfectly.
It just fits, yeah. I also want to be very clear. I am not the originator of this in any way, shape, or form. I'm not original. I just, like there's
you are original, okay?
I am in my
putting your own special sauce on things.
But like there's songs about the middle. There was a show called The Middle. One of my friends, after she had the concept, she sent me this thing about a Buddhist practice or belief about the middle way, which kind of all comes back to this. So I'm about to say this and I feel so uncomfortable even say it. I just feel like this is a message we need now again in our society. So I felt like I needed to say it. I don't know.
And if you felt like you needed to say it, then you were the best vessel to say it, because the minute you said it, how many, like, I don't even know the number of people that resonated with it, but it's a truth. So you're doing it, girl. You're doing what you're supposed to do.
Thank you. Not as many as I feel like I should, because again, always worrying about everything. But yeah, it is so wonderful when somebody's like, oh, I know what you mean. It's like, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Well, maybe putting into this context will maybe help you a little bit.
Yeah.
There's 8 billion people on this planet. And I feel like it's fair to say that if you can reach 10%, maybe even 5, you're doing like a really good service, and it'll just trickle on. It's like you throw a pebble into a pond, and then there's a ripple effect. So it's reaching those that need to be, for it to be reached. And it's a fact of life. There is the middle.
I know. See, I told you I'm not good at it. I was very clear about it. It's a journey that I feel like I will be on for a while.
Yeah, we're all on that journey. We're just trying to find we're just all trying to find the people that kind of understand like our standpoint. And it's just like, don't worry, I got it. I think that's like the big thing. Everyone is just like, does someone out there understand me? So it's just one day at a time. Sometimes it's 1 hour, but it's okay.
Sometimes 5 minutes. Yeah.
Sometimes
but we're making it. We're making it.
So what was the one story that you kind of had to like stop telling yourself?
Well, I think you've heard me do this already. I've constantly been battling this who cares what I have to say story. Like I am not traditionally a remarkable person. Like I live in the Midwest. I am like I am all of these middle things. Like I'm pretty, but I'm not like a gorgeous supermodel. I'm like I'm seemingly average in a lot of ways. And so then there's this voice in the back of my head of like, well, who other than your mom? Because my mom definitely cares. I will say that. Who cares what I have to say? You know, why would somebody want to listen to this? You know, and that story of a little bit of imposter syndrome, a little bit of, I don't even want to say it was imposter syndrome because I wasn't even doing it yet. So you can't even say it's imposter syndrome. Like I wasn't good enough for imposter syndrome yet. So that's right, which is actually very different for me because usually in work contexts, I'm a very confident person. Right. Like I'm like, I have this, and this down. I know these things. I've got like my academic credentials to back this up, and I've done this. And with this, I don't have any of that. I don't, this is me coming as a person to share my life. And again, I don't have those kind of things to back me up. So it has taken, and it's something obviously I'm still working through, this idea of, well, who does want to listen to what I have to say? Is this even worth people hearing and whatnot? And I will say I had a dear friend a few weeks ago really helped me reframe this because I do an interview podcast like episode. And then I also do these mini episodes that are just me talking. And I told her, I'm like, I really struggle with the mini episodes because I have this feeling of like, well, who cares what I just have to say, right? The interview episodes, it's about this really cool person. So that makes sense to me, but these other ones doesn't matter. And she was like, can I reframe this for you? Which is like the loveliest thing that anybody could say of like, you're wrong, but I'm going to change it for you. And she was like, why don't you think about it as, I hope this reaches the person that needs to hear it. And I was like, well, snap, that's huge, So even if my mom is the only person to hear it, I know she cares what I have to say. Now I hope it reaches beyond that. And not only that, it's done so much for me. So keeping that like confidence into what is actually important to me and not getting mixed up in all those big numbers and worries and that kind of thing has really been helpful. And I also have gotten lovely messages from people being like, hey, I feel this too. And I've never heard somebody say that before. And it's just great. when you hear those
Yeah.
things. Oh, and it's also great. I told a story on the podcast about my daughter hiding remotes. And someone sent me a message like, I just want you to know this literally made me laugh out loud when you're like, well, I guess somebody else is SOL if they try to turn on our TV, you know?
No, it's true. And I'll just add this too, when you're creating your own mini episodes, take it as, your story or whatever, the theme is for that micro episode is for somebody else, because essentially the experiences that we go through aren't just for us and to say, oh, hey, I've done it. It's also to show other people that, whatever their circumstance is, however similar it is, you did it and they can do it too. And you're the prime example. So
Yeah.
keep going with those little mini episodes.
I'm going to keep going. It's been good. And since I've done that kind of frame of mind change, I love doing them because I've also started looking for these little moments in my own life that I can share as like a fun anecdote to talk about. So it has brought this element of just joy for me. And I mentioned this before, I'm dealing with some chronic illness and I've got some health issues. And so I don't leave the house like I did before. I don't get out and socialize like I did before. So this has become like also my way to feel like I'm still socializing and being amongst the people. And it's been really nice to, as one of my sisters said, she's like, I need to meet my talking quota for the day. And it helps me meet my talking quota.
I definitely second that. I'm definitely the one in my family that since birth has been the talker, and my sister jokes around and she's like, your voice doesn't hurt by now? She's like, girl, you still talking? I'm like, yes. Okay, somebody wants to hear me.
Yes. And I want to chat. That's what I want to do. Like literally, I've taught my son, he's only 4, and he's like, Mom, can we chat? And I'm like, yeah, buddy, we can chat. And we started doing something called cuddle chats where he comes and lays with me in bed and we just talk about his day. Like, this is everything that I want from life. So yeah, let's just chat, bud.
Yeah. And you're reinforcing also like communication, and it's a safe thing that you can do and it can be respected. So I love that idea. I see all the pros in that.
I mean, I do too. We'll see if he wants to do it when he's not 4, but
well, hey, you're planting a seed and we're building habits now. So I believe that it's fair game.
I love it.
You're doing stuff. So since we're in the creative bubble, I know you've also created a workbook and you have a journal going on. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because I briefly looked into the worksheets and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. I like this. How did you come up with that?
I would love to tell you that like I'd been planning it for a long time and I had this idea, but that's not true. I literally, so I've been going through this health issue and whatnot, and I could no longer work traditionally like I was before. And I've always been a very productive person. So like producing work, and, I found a lot of joy and value in work. And then I just didn't have work. Right. And part of my health problems is like weakness and fatigue. And so there's periods of time where I'm just laying in bed and my brain's still there, but my body's just like, no, thanks. Yeah. So what had started to happen during that is one, I would go like down a TikTok rabbit hole, but then it was just like, well, what can I do from my phone? And then I watched a TikTok about writing a book and publishing it like really quickly on Amazon. And I was like, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. And so I like threw together an outline. I started writing like a little bit here and there. And then I had a pretty decent idea and I was like, okay, maybe this is going to become something. And then I accidentally told Amazon that I was going to publish it because I was getting a little click happy. And then it was like, oh, I have a deadline. And people are, if I want people to buy this, I have to make it and make it good. So then from there, it really became something that I'm very proud of, in that I really thought about, like, the self-help industry really frustrates me in general because it's very much dependent on one person telling you what to do, and like that they have all the answers and that they're the expert. And I'm not an expert on anybody else's life. I'm just not. I can tell you
True.
my experience and I can give you tools that have helped me, but I can't say that it's going to change your life.
Right.
So another piece of my background is I have a master's degree in instructional design and technology, and I've done instructional design as well for like the past 5 or 6 years. And I just had this moment where I was like, well, what if I use those instructional design ideas and applied them to the middle and the people and my experience to give people some of those same tools. So that's kind of how it became into something that's actually good and not me just throwing words on a page. But it has 5 chapters, and each chapter kind of zones in on something specific. So we talk about self-reflection, and I tell my story and I say, all right, I'm going to lead you through these self-reflection exercises, and this is why, because it's how it affected me. Yeah. And then I do the same with self-care. And then another part of what I've thought about with the middle is that it really is a lot of recovering perfectionists and overachievers really struggle with the middle. Those are 2 of my big things that make me struggle with it. So I have chapters on those, and then a chapter about just being in the middle of the struggle, because I'm in the middle of a struggle. So what are tools that can help me through it? And so each one has a couple of worksheets with each of those chapters. And it turned into, sorry, you can hear my dog. Something that's indie. Something that I think is really cool and that I'm really proud of, and that has a lot of me like bearing my soul, but saying, I'm showing you how this has helped me. So I hope it can help you. And I say throughout it, like, I am not the expert here. You are the expert on you. I am not an expert on you, but I can give you some of these tools, and maybe they work, maybe they don't, but at least you've learned that you don't like me. And that's something that you've learned, I guess.
I think I find it very hard for someone to say that they don't like you, unless
be
I don't know,
annoying,
maybe you
I'm
push
sure.
them down the road or something, something like really crazy. But like, you have a really great personality and you're really
Thank
personable.
you.
So I don't think
I appreciate that a lot. So and it also ended up being, I had always wanted to publish a book, but I never thought I was special enough or cool enough. And technically I've published a book. Yes, it's a workbook, so it's not like a full-blown book, but still, hey. And then I found that one resource that I shared that really resonated with people was this thought check process. Like, it was a video that I made. And so it's this idea of challenging some negative thoughts. So, and this was something that my therapist taught me. And she would always ask me, she's like, all right, well, is this thought accurate? So is what you're saying true? Is what you're saying helpful? And is what you're saying to yourself something you would say to somebody else that you love? And a large majority of my intrusive, mean thoughts are false across the board.
Yeah.
They're, so as I was making support for middle, like the more robust workbook, I was like, well, if people like this thought check thing, I made it into a little journal that people can use. And it takes you through, like, is this helpful? Is this true? Is it something you would say to somebody else? And I found that the act of writing it down for me and taking it out of my head has made it less of me saying it, and it gives it a little bit more objectivity.
Yeah.
And I'm able to say, all right, well, no, it's not really true that I'm the worst all the time, like, and no, that's not helpful. And I would never say that to one of my friends, and then there's some space for like reflection of like, well, if it's not true, if it's not helpful, and it's not something I'd say, why is this something? And to hopefully, ideally, give you and me, frankly, I use it, the power to overcome that thought and to give it less power and to make it mean less. And I also think it's interesting, that you could look back and see, oh, I'm having this thought a lot. And I think there's some value in it. So yeah, that's where those came from. A little bit of a happy accident, but something that I'm very proud of. And I also got to be I am not a graphic designer in any way, shape, or form, but I love a Canva template.
Oh, who are you telling?
Yeah,
for Canva.
I again, I want to be very clear. I am not a graphic designer. I do not have graphic design skills. I cannot take an idea from the universe and make it into something like a graphic designer can. But you give me a template, I can change some colors and some shapes, move some things around. So that's what I was also able to do with the workbooks, is that they're very visual and they've got pictures. And so it was also another kind of fun way of visually seeing and doing things that I enjoyed.
No, I love it. I'm totally a visual person. And just as you were explaining, your thought process kind of, well, at least in my little mind, it connected to a conversation that I was having with someone else. And they were explaining scripting. And it was kind of like the same idea where you kind of take the thoughts, you write them down, but then you change it into what you want to see in the future, and you highlight the better attributes of yourself. And I thought that was really cool. And I'm I know it sounds so simple, but it also sounds like the greatest thing in the world, or at least puts things into context. And it's oh, I'm not really batshit crazy. It's just
no. And it's all about making things easier on yourself.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, a lot of the exercises are not groundbreaking. I think the thing that I'm the most proud of in there is there's a chapter on self-care, and it talks about well, why aren't you getting what you need?
Mm-hmm.
And what is the barrier? Because I think that's more indicative of you think you need this, and then these are your barriers. Now, addressing why they're barriers and how to actually get rid of them, that's something that you should do with a mental health therapist, and I am not qualified for that. But at least looking at those barriers and being oh, that's why I'm not taking care of myself. How can I at least go around that? And asking those questions and thinking of those things ahead of time, so that the next time you're in that moment, you already have that mental pathway and shortcut that you can go around it, and it makes your life a little bit easier when you get to that point.
Yeah.
And so I think for a long time I called myself lazy. Lazy is one of my words that I'm not supposed to say about myself, but again, another lovely thing my therapist has taught me. And what I've started to realize is I'm not lazy. I just want to do things in an easier way. And that's not bad. There's no one's going to offer me an award because I did something the way somebody told me I should when I was 12.
Right.
If that's not serving me now and it has no other purpose, then that's not lazy, And so that really kind of stopping and thinking about those things and reflecting to be able to save you down the line, I think is huge.
Yeah,
huge.
Absolutely. And even just the conversation around self-care, because I feel a lot of times people think it's supposed to look a certain way.
Yes.
And it's it's not always going to be a massage at the 5-star spa that
a bubble bath is mine that comes into mind. Everybody's we'll take a bath. I'm I can't. First of all, my bathtub is not big enough. Thank you. 2, I don't have time to take a bath. That's not going to solve all my problems. Hello.
but it's just the simple things that you enjoy that you can kind of decompress, and even sometimes taking your own space for yourself. Maybe you just need a timeout in your room for 20 or 30 minutes just to be okay, how am I feeling today? What do I really want to do in the next 5 minutes? And just having those check-ins. I feel if we would check in with ourselves more, then the way we respond and have communications with other people might just be a little bit differently, and maybe people will be less offended in the world.
Absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on something, is that we have kind of desensitized ourselves to ourself. But when you said check in with yourself, we are so focused on, again, like the shoulds and what other people think in the outside world, that we've really separated ourselves from what we are really like sometimes physically feeling and thinking and that kind of thing. And so that's why I'm like, self-care is not about buying a bath bomb, and
Yeah.
it's not, doing meditation. Yes, those things can help, but what it really is it's looking at you and how you're interacting with your surroundings and how you are letting yourself be in those surroundings and taking up the space that you need. And it's things like getting enough sleep, brushing your teeth. And if there are barriers in getting in the way, that's fine. Just we need to get around them. And so I get really passionate about that too, because I ignored myself for so long. And it wasn't until I got sick that I started actually like listening to my body, and then not beating myself up for when I had to lay down, when previously I would be like, oh, I should be able to do this. I shouldn't lay down and all this stuff. And now it's like, well, no, if I don't lay down, I might pass out. So we all, the consequences are much more immediate for me and maybe a little bit more dramatic, but I think we all do that, of like really wearing ourselves down. And at some point we're all going to pass out.
Yeah.
Mine just seems to happen a lot faster now.
Yeah. No, but it's important to like listen to your body and like figure out like, okay, if you really feel like you need to keep going, it's like, why do you feel the need to keep going? And for whom do you feel like you need to keep doing this for? Because like 90% of the time, it's not even for yourself. It's for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there are a lot of ways that our identities tell us that we should do things like motherhood, having 2 young kids, basically initially taught me that I have to completely sacrifice myself, and that's the only way to be a good mom. And now it's like, no, that's not good for them, because then I'm just teaching them that, and I don't want that for them, and it just, it's very easy to, and like I mentioned earlier, I'm a Midwesterner. So Midwesterners were really nice to the point of like pain sometimes for ourselves. It's roll up your sleeves and get to work, whether it's good for you or not. It's all of those mentalities and those kind of stories in our heads that make us stop listening to what we actually need.
Yeah, no, that's great. So how do you like to have fun?
How do I like to have fun?
Like if it's a nice summer day and you wake up and you're like, yeah, I'm about to take over the world. What are you doing?
Well, it's hard because, well, no, I was like, so it's really funny. I have a very lovely set of friends who have learned that even before I was sick, I was a homebody.
Okay.
Like,
nothing wrong with that.
Is that like I was the friend that was like, so I would love to come see you. Is there parking where we're going? Because that is a priority for me. Like we need.
Wait, are they from New York?
No,
that sounds like a very New York thing to say.
No, we live in Cincinnati, okay? But there are places where it's like, oh, I don't want to have to go to a parking garage or find street parking. That's just so much work. I could have a drink at home, The cost benefit analysis is very serious. So, but before that, definitely spending time with friends, chatting, talking. But I am really a lover of pretty much all things audio. So I love podcasts. I love audiobooks. I love specifically romance rom-com audiobooks. That's a thing that I really love. And it's one of those things that I've just now, it's like, I'm like, no, I need to be able to say that, because I had a lot of judgment about myself of like, it's not smart stuff. I'm like, no, it's smart and I like it and it makes me happy. Same with, I love a Real Housewives. I love Vanderpump Rules. The joy it brings me is insane, and I am just going to unabashedly love it and embrace it. So
just have fun. It's okay to enjoy the small joys in life, although other people may see guilty pleasures or
There,
that.
yeah. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, there's no guilt here. It makes me happy. It's not hurting me. It's not hurting anybody else. We're all good.
Yeah. What book are you listening to right now?
It is a book by Megan Quinn. I don't remember the name exactly. Hold on, I'll tell you.
Because I'm always looking for a new book to either read, although I'm more of like the physical. I like a physical book because I like the smell of the pages for some reason, just like the smell of the books. I know it's kind of
I understand.
it's like, fresh paper. Love it.
But it's called Right Man, Right Time, and it's a rom-com, and it just
right, man.
brings me joy. I love it.
We like that. We like it. We dibble and dabble and celebrate all things that bring us joy.
Yeah. And I will say, I also have a really awesome husband who is my favorite person to spend time with and chat. Like last night, we just sat up and talked about the word advice for like 30 minutes on whether or not it's a good word or not. And it made me so happy. And I do have 2 little kids who are really cool. A 4-year-old boy and an almost 2-year-old girl. And they're just so much fun. And being with them is pretty great too. It's exhausting, but it's great.
Yes. I don't have kids, but I do have nieces and nephews, and the 2 little ones, they're 3 and like 1.5. Yeah. And the 3-year-old just keeps me going. We have tons of fun. I'm like his best buddy. So I get it. After like even just a few hours, I'm like, whoa, I need a nap. I'm like, this is tough. I'm like, I give all you moms and all you parents all the props in the world because I get to drop them off, or I just get to take a little hiatus. You're kind of stuck with them.
I will say I was the aunt for like 15 years or 16 years before I had kids. And I almost said that I knew too much about kids because I spent so much time with them. But it is different when you have your own kids. But also it is so great. I remember when we would leave my parents' house sometimes, my husband and I would look at each other and be like, do you know how quiet it is in this car? And it's like, yeah, I know.
Like, isn't it great?
Isn't it great?
No, I love it. And last question, what are you looking forward to most in 2023? What are you so excited about?
You know, for the first time in my life, I am looking out and I don't have an answer.
Ooh.
Of like, this is what my work's going to look like. This is what my life's going to look like. I don't have a whole lot of plans. And at first that's scary. But what I've started to realize is there really is no limit for me. When it comes, like, cause sometimes, I lost my income. So sometimes I worry about money, but it's like, also there's no cap to my money. And it's like, okay, same with, just the creativity and joy that I'm finding is there's just really no limit to those things. And that has turned into, for me, like the amount of possibilities there are is endless. And that is so cool. Yeah. That is so cool. And I have the ability to have control over all of that for the most part. And that's what I'm really excited for is just what could be possible.
Yes, I love it. Embrace the possibilities because they're all around us. We just got to be like, oh, I want that one. I want that one. And I want that one. And you're already on the way. You've got your workbook, you've got the journal, and it's only up from now.
Yeah. And I was in a conversation with somebody because I was talking about what I was talking about earlier about like my frustration of like things not happening fast enough and worrying about numbers and all this stuff. They're like, well, what if you had those things? How would your life look different? And I was like, it wouldn't. I love what I'm doing. I love the podcast. I love writing. So how cool is that that wouldn't look different? So for me, it's like, okay, no, I just need to keep moving in the direction that I'm going. And we're going to get there. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It will. I stand with you on that one. I do. And on that note, where can people connect with you? Where can we listen to your show, find your products?
Yeah. So, it's the middle. So THEMDDL. So middle with no vowels, as we already talked about. And so I've used that to like structure all the things I've created. So technically my blog is called Embracing the Middle, but it's just at themddlinsta.com.
Gotcha.
My podcast is called Sharing the Middle. And then the workbook is called Support from the Middle. So all of those things middle. And I am an active social media person. I'm weirdly loving making TikTok and Instagram reel videos that aren't cool. Like I'm not doing cool things, but apparently I just love talking, which we've already established. So maybe it kind of makes sense. So they are all a little bit different depending on the platform and what was available, but I'm at the Middle Insta, or on Instagram, I'm at the Middle on TikTok. But it's all, if you go to themddl.com, it's all there. So yeah.
Don't worry, it'll be in the show notes. And I just love all the play on the words. So I'm here for it as always.
Thanks. Yeah, when I first told my husband, I was like, Joe, like this has legs. This could mean some things. And he was like, all right, cool.
No, but that's great. I mean, half the battle is also having your spouse's support in it, because without their support, we can't do the other half of the things that we do. So there's the whole what is the word, synchronicity, if I'm even using and saying that right word, but whatever.
I get what you're saying, and that's
everybody gets what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. I had a lot of fun.
I had so much fun. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm so glad, thankful, and grateful that we crossed paths.
Me too.
This will not be the last time you hear from me, because we're in the same orbit, and I just can't wait to see how our relationship continues to grow and blossom.
Agreed.
And I'm so excited for all that you've already done, and I can't wait to see where you're gonna do later on in the road. And I will definitely have my eyeballs on your Insta, because you inspire me to be better with my own reels, and just kind of getting over of I don't really like to be in front of things, which is kind of funny since I have a podcast show and we're doing videos. So it's but
you're so engaging. I'm watching you now. I'm like, yes, you should do more. I mean, do what you want. I'm not telling you what to do, but no, I think you would be good.
I know. It's just like we've, discussed already. It's me getting out of my head, and it's just just pretend like I'm doing a show and I'll be fine. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll team up and you can coach me through it and help me work it out. I don't know.
I just usually pretend like I'm talking. So it does help. I have a little group chat of friends, and we send each other videos of what we're doing. Yeah. And I think that really made it easier for me to do this, is I'm used to just getting on and I'm talking to my friends. And I mean, and it just, it helps me kind of get over that initial hump of I'll do it.
Okay. Okay.
So you're just talking to your friends, just sending them a message.
Yes. Good point. I'm going to keep that at the front of my mind. Okay. You're giving me courage. See, this is good. Good. So guys, thank you again for joining us on this great episode. I'll see you again next week. And if you haven't heard it today, always remember, you are strong, you are worthy, and you are enough. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Hold on. Let me just...